Your Speaker of the House, Marco Rubio, who's challenging Governor Charlie Crist for the Senate primary Republican ticket. It's fascinating. We were watching Rubio here before you came on. He gave a passionate speech. He electrified, I think, the crowd here. And if I could, we have to do a little reporting while we're here. This from our Miami producer, Serafin Gomez, is giving me that the Charlie Crist campaign has actually issued a response to Marco Rubio's CPAC speech. Charlie Crist not here speaking this year. This is the response that we are allowed to report here on Strategy Room. A response from Governor Charlie Crist to Marco Rubio's speech. Quote, "In the past year, we have all seen the results of allowing a candidate to hide his record behind the veil of a good speech while touting his so-called ideals. While Speaker Rubio claims he will not be co-opted by big government, his record as a Miami lobbyist while simultaneously serving in the legislature demonstrates he is willing to be co-opted by much worse." Andrea Saul, Communications Director for Charlie Crist's campaign for U.S. Senate. Now, that's an interesting statement because that was a pretty tough statement coming out by the campaign. Obviously, watching Marco Rubio, you got quite a fight down there in Florida.
And well, it should be. We again, the citizens of Florida want this. They want a candidate that represents them. They don't want somebody from up here in Washington saying, "This is our boy, hands off, and we'll just pick this person." I believe that a good, healthy primary campaign is important. I think the citizens want to see that. I will tell you that I'm sure that the governor is going to make his argument, and the speaker is going to make his argument, and they will both be they're both seasoned veterans when it comes to going out there speaking to public. But right now, Marco has got the heart and soul of the conservative movement that has really gravitated to him, and I think that you'll see a vigorous campaign. All the polls right now are showing that Marco is leading. I think in some cases almost double digits at this point in time. So we have seen him come from a 6% base where virtually no one knew him to this message. And as part of what you said earlier, Griff, that it's this resounding grassroots that's beginning to move. People are wanting to be involved in this process again. And so whatever candidate goes out and says, "Listen, I have the experience, I have the training, I have the proven virtue, and I have the demonstrated wisdom," I think that's the candidate that the citizens are going to get behind.
State Representative from Florida, Kurt Kelly, is my guest here in Strategy Room as we are on the road at the 37th Annual CPAC Conference in Washington, D.C. It is off to a roaring start. Its first speaker, as we were just talking, Florida Speaker of the House, Marco Rubio, challenging Governor Crist. And I've got such a good insider to this. I want to focus a little more on Rubio. We dipped in and out of his speech earlier. You can watch all the speeches on foxnews.com. But this cover of the Washington Times, you can see here, Kurt, I don't know if you got to read this. Rubio takes tea, but says it's no party. This is traditional. Candidates distancing themselves from something that they perceive as a potential, Achilles heel there. People are wanting to tap that Tea Party energy, but yet they don't want to wear the three-pointed hat to alienate themselves to more moderate, say, Republicans. What do you make of a move like that with Rubio?
You know, being a public servant means that you do serve the whole public. I think that conservative values does not necessarily mean that you can't go out there and appeal to moderates and that you can appeal to the whole public, because you can sit down and say, listen, I look out for the whole public. I don't think that Marco wants to, or anyone wants to be just labeled at one level or another. Again, the Tea Party movement isn't just a codified value system out there. I believe that it is it's a conservative movement, and it's really incorporating the whole conservative movement to step up. And I see many folks, social conservatives, moral conservatives, fiscal conservatives, those that believe in much less government, all of them coming together around this conservative movement to oust liberalism. This isn't time to start splitting off and becoming partisan even inside the Republican Party, but it is now to try to bring our conservative values, the very same thing that Ronald Reagan did here 37 years ago, the very same thing he began to sweep across our nation, is to say, listen, we're going to bring people into the party, but we're going to bring them around our ideas and values, not try to make such a big tent that we walk away from our ideas and values. And so I think this is where you're seeing the fire and the energy of Marco Rubio. I think what he's trying to say is, hey, listen, I believe we have been taxed enough already, because that's what T stands for, Tea Party. And he's probably right. It's not necessarily it's not a party. There's not supposed to be a group that's split off. That would play right into the hands of the liberals. That would play right into the hands of those who are opposed to those who are opposed to smaller government, those who are looking to expand the role of the government in health care, to weaken our military forces. Splitting off any of that element would hurt the Republican and conservative movement. And so let's keep the conservative movement what it is, a movement to actually take our nation back.
Kurt, you mentioned, you invoked President Ronald Reagan's name, and 37 years ago at the very first CPAC in 1973, its keynote speaker was a guy named Ronald Reagan. Its first speaker, he was speaking to conservatives. When asked later, when he became president, why he was returning to speak to CPAC, he said, because you dance with them that brung you.
Amen.
And he was talking about conservatives. Certainly, you're going to hear Ronald Reagan's name in every conversation over this past next 3 days. But I ask you today, as a candidate, a conservative candidate running for Congress against an incumbent Democrat, what is a conservative today? I'm going to ask everybody running for office, define it. What is a conservative in 2010?
A conservative is a person that, number one, that believes, like Thomas Jefferson, government governs best, that governs least. It is not that government's role. We do believe in the role of government, but that government is not the answer to every question. In fact, often, as Ronald Reagan says, it is also the problem. It is not the solution. It can be the problem. But we understand if you're going to have government, you make sure it's efficient, you make sure it's effective, and you make sure it's limited. Our founding fathers understood that. If you really want to go back to the root of the word conservative, it would be somebody that says, I want to go to the very values and foundations of what our principles of our nation were, what our founding fathers believe. I've been spending a lot of time and I'm a political science major back from college days, but I've been spending some time over the last 4 or 5 years again just studying what our founding fathers said about the development of our nation. And I think if every person, in fact, I've got a bill in the Florida House right now that's wanting to return a greater emphasis on civics so that our children will understand what it means to how our nation was founded, what it means to be an American. That's what a conservative. A conservative understands the very value systems of the founding of this nation, holds to that dearly, doesn't look to overexpand that, believes in strengthening our military because we do have tyrants and people and now terrorists who want to come and kill us. Alan Grayson believes that we don't have a legitimate reason to be over in Afghanistan. Kurt Kelly says, what's wrong with him? He hasn't figured out that those people are training folks to come over here and kill our citizens.
Florida State Representative Kurt Kelly running for Congress against incumbent Democrat Alan Grayson. Love having you here. We are taking Strategy Room on the road to the 37th annual CPAC, Conservative Political Action Conference. State Representative Kurt Kelly here with us. I want to get one last thing with you, Kurt. Are you going to beat Grayson?
Well, I'll tell you this. The answer is yes. We absolutely, we looked hard at this race. We knew that it can be done because even though he's got an incredible amount of money, Alan Grayson is a wealthy man in his own right, but he is raising a lot of money through the internet. And so he's gone out there, he's pandered to the left, he's used his shock jock mentality. And so what we've done is we're going to go out there and we're going to talk to our citizens. We're going to talk about the Constitution. We're going to talk about the values of America. And frankly, what we're going to do is you're going to see people from all over the United States get involved in this race, because we believe that this race is a national race. It is a bellwether race, I think, nationally. So if you want to help out, go to Go Kurt Kelly. People have been telling me where to go all my life, so it's GoKurtKelly.com, and you can be a part. You can find out more about my campaign, how you can help, how you can contribute. We'd be very, very appreciative of that.
State Representative Kurt Kelly, thanks for joining us here in the Strategy Room at CPAC. I certainly appreciate it.